Today's lecture steps us further back in time to what is perhaps the oldest version of Cinderella we know. Now, in this version, the main point is about that connection between a child and a parent, and how that parent can love and guide and protect her child even when they're far apart. And perhaps you've had a parent or a loved one who's guided you or helped you along your path, pointed you in the right direction. Perhaps that parent's voice still guides you, even when that person is gone from sight. This story harkens back to the relationships in our other stories between Cinderella and her godmother, or Zezola and her date tree, or Vasilisa and her little doll. The helpers in these stories, and in our story today, love the heroine unconditionally, with a selfless love that reaches even from beyond the grave. So here, from Iran, is Ma Pishani, a Cinderella story. There once was a man and a woman, and the man and the woman had a little girl, and they loved their little girl. They gave her everything that they could afford. They got her every good teacher that they could, including the Ahund. And the Ahund, the woman teacher that they got for her, they sent her off to school with the Ahund. And as soon as that Ahund, who was not really a very good Ahund, got that girl behind closed doors, she asked that girl, she said, is your mother mean to you? Well, the girl, she was very truthful. She said, No, my mother is very nice to me. Oh, but the Ahund, she had a plan. She said, No. Your mother is mean to you, and I am the nice one. Well, she said this often enough to that girl that the girl started to believe it. She started to believe that her mother was mean, and the Ahund was really the good one. And the Ahund had a wicked plan. And the Ahund said, Wouldn't you like me to be your mother? And so she told the girl what to do. She asked, What do you have in your house? And the girl told her that they had these large vats of vinegar. If you were to put your arms around that large vat of vinegar. And what does vinegar smell like? Does it smell good? Shooey! Yes! Shooey! She said, we have these large vats of vinegar. That is what you must do. And she told the girl a wicked plan. Well, the girl, you should always be careful of what teachers you listen to, because the girl listened. And she went home with that Ahund's advice in her ear, and she went over to her mother. Her mother was near that big vat of vinegar. Hold your big vat of vinegar. Ooh, that stinky vat of vinegar. And she pushed her mother into the vinegar. Shoo-wee! And the next morning, the father had a surprise. The mother had died, but in her place, whoop, a yellow cow had appeared in their barn. They'd never seen that yellow cow before. Well, the mother was gone, and there was the yellow cow. Well, the father decided that the girl her job would be to take that yellow cow out into the fields to feed it every day. And so that was her job. She took the cow out, and the father and the Ahund were soon married. And the girl was very excited. She thought, the Ahund, she will give me candy anytime I want. She thought the Ahund would be so nice to her. But sure enough, after a while of being married, they had their own baby, and the Ahund began to be very mean to the girl. She sent that girl out. She said, You take that cow, you take it out into the field, and you must take this cotton. And she gave the girl a wad of cotton. Now, this is raw cotton right off the branch, and you can look at it. But she gave the girl a wad of cotton, and she said, You want to hold it? Yeah. What do you think? She gave the girl this wad of cotton, and she said, you take this cotton and you must turn it and spin it into thread, and you may not come home until you have spun all of this into thread. And she sent her off. Well, the girl, she didn't have any tools to turn this cotton into thread, but she took it out into the field with her. And she took that cow. She walked that cow out, and the ahund sent her with the cotton and with a stale piece of crusty bread. And the girl took the bread and the cotton and the cow, and they went out. Oh, and the girl, she let the cow eat, but she took that cotton and she wasn't sure what to do with it. She tried to hang it onto some briars to try and spin it, but it was just falling to pieces in her hands, and she began to cry. And the cow, that yellow cow, came over to her. And the cow said, "Don't cry." The cow spoke to her. "Don't cry. Tell me, why are you crying?"
Not really.
Well, that's good. But this girl was. She said, "Why are you crying?" And the girl said, Oh, my mother, she will not let me come home if I do not spin all of this into thread, and I don't know how." Well, the cow said, "I will help you." And she told the girl what to do, and the girl fed that crusty bread. Everybody take up your bread. She took that crusty bread, and she fed it to the cow, and the cow ate the bread. And then the cow told her to feed it the cotton. So she took the cotton, fed it to the cow. Everybody take your cotton. Feed it to the cow. She fed it to the cow. And the cow spun that cotton. And out of the cow's bottom came the most beautiful thread you have ever seen. It was beautiful. The cow ate all of that cotton. And out came a large wad of beautiful thread. Well, the girl, she took that thread. She took the cow. She walked home. And the ahund, she didn't know how the girl had done it. She was angry. Well, the next morning, the ahund gave her a piece of crusty bread. Everybody take your bread. The ahund gave her a wad of cotton, and she told her to go out into the fields with that cow, and you don't come back until you have spun all of that into thread. Well, the girl went out, and the cow, "Don't cry, I will help you." And so she fed the cow the crusty bread. Everybody feed the cow. And cow ate the crusty bread. And then what did she feed the cow? The cotton. Fed the cow the cotton. Everybody feed the cow the cotton. Out of the cow's bottom came the most beautiful thread you have ever seen. The third day, the ahund, bread, and the cotton, go with the cow. And so out she went. And she fed the cow that piece of bread. Everybody feed the cow. But as soon as she was about to take that cotton over to the cow, a gust of wind picked that cotton up and blew it over down into a deep, deep well. Oh, girl, she knew she needed the cotton to bring home. The ahund would not let her back in the house if she didn't bring back the thread from the cotton, and so she went over to that deep, deep well. She couldn't even see the bottom, but she saw there was a ladder leading down to the bottom, down into the darkness. Well, she swung her leg over. She was going to climb down into that well when the cow, "I will tell you what will happen." And the cow told her, "When you get to the bottom of the well, you will find a bazangi, a wise woman, old woman. And you must be kind to that bazangi. She will ask you how her hair looks. You tell her her hair looks beautiful. When you see her, you say, 'Salam.' Can you say salam? Salam. You be kind to her. And you only take the cotton back. Take nothing else." And the girl took the cow's advice. She went down into that well. Everybody go down. Climb down. She climbed down into that well. And at the very bottom of that well, she saw a woman with wild hair. And she knew it was the bazangi. And she walked over to that woman, and what did she say? Salam. She was kind, and the bazangi, "How does my hair look?" And what did she say? Beautiful. "Oh, your hair looks beautiful. There are no bugs in your hair. Your hair is beautiful." "Ah, your cotton is over there." And the bazangi pointed to another room in that deep, deep well. Well, the girl, she walked over into that room, and what do you think she found? The cotton was over in the corner, But between her and the corner of that room where the cotton was, she saw jewels. It was a room full of treasure. And so she walked over and she looked at all the glittering jewels, but she didn't take any of them. She remembered only take the cotton. And so she walked over where the cotton was and she picked it up. Pick up the cotton. She picked it up. And as she was walking back out, she noticed the floor was dirty. And she saw a broom, and so she picked up that broom and she swept it clean before she left, put that broom back. And then she went back to the ladder. She was getting ready to leave with just the cotton. And so she put that into the folds of her clothes and she began to climb out. But as she climbed, the Bazangi wanted to test her. And so the Bazangi, as she climbed up and up that ladder, the Bazangi took the bottom of that ladder. Everybody take the bottom of that ladder. And she shook it, shake, to see if anything fell out of the girl's pockets. Well, nothing came out. She had taken none of the jewels, right? Oh, and the Bazangi, she blessed the girl. She said, I put a special blessing on you. You are a good girl. And she blessed the girl, and when she put the blessing on her, a beautiful silver moon appeared on the girl's brow, on her forehead. The girl kept climbing. She felt it, but she kept climbing. She knew she had to get out with that cotton. And as she climbed, just as she was about to get out, the Bazangi, she took that ladder. Everybody take that ladder. And she shook it again. Well, nothing came out. No jewels. She hadn't. I bless you again. And so she blessed her with a star on her chin. And the girl, she climbed out. And as she climbed out, that cow saw that moon on the girl's brow and the star on her chin. And the cow said, because they were beautiful. Oh, well, the cow gave her advice. The cow ate the cotton. Everybody eat cotton. Out came the beautiful thread. But the cow gave her advice. She said that she should cover up those marks of beauty so that the ahund would not find out what had happened to her. And so the girl took a veil and she covered her forehead with the veil, and she covered over her chin with the veil so that no one could see the beautiful moon and the beautiful star. And she went home with the cow and that beautiful thread. Well, by now the ahund knew something was happening. She saw that veil and she wanted to find out what in the world has happened to this girl and how is she making all of this beautiful thread. And so that night, as the girl slept, the ahund went into her room, and the veil had slipped away from her forehead, and the ahund saw, everybody point to your forehead, the ahund saw the beautiful moon on her brow. Oh, and she knew something had happened out there, and she wanted the blessing on her own daughter as well. And so the very next morning, instead of sending the girl out, she sent her own daughter. She gave her own daughter a beautiful piece of sweet bread. Everybody take the sweet bread, not the crusty bread, sweet bread. And she gave her own daughter the cotton and said, here, you take this out with the cow, you see what happens. And so her own daughter, well, she grabbed the cow, she walked out, and she wasn't sure what to do, but she knew the cow had something to do with it. And so she took that bread and she gave it to the cow, and the cow ate the bread. She took that cotton. She wasn't really sure what to do with it. She looked at the cow. The cow said, "Mrrr." You think the cow spoke to her? No. That cow was not going to help this girl, but she tried to give the cow that cotton. Everybody feed the cotton to the cow. Tried to give that cow that cotton, and the cow, it made a little bit of thread, but it wasn't worth anything. She brought that thread home. The ahund said, "Whoa." The next morning, they tried it again. Took the sweet bread. Everybody take the sweet bread. Took the cotton. Took the cow out. She gave that bread to the cow. She gave that cotton to the cow. Just a little tiny bit of thread. Third day, she went out again. She gave the sweet bread to the cow. She took the cotton, but just as she was about to give that cotton to the cow, what came along? That wind, and it blew the cotton down into where? The well. The deep, deep well. And the girl, she saw, the daughter saw that cotton go down into the well. She looked at the cow. What do you think the cow said?
Nothing.
Mrrr. Nothing. No advice from the cow. So she went down. She went down the ladder. Everybody go down the ladder. She went down the ladder. And she saw at the bottom of that well the Bazangi with the wild hair. Well, she went over to that Bazangi and she did not say salam. She said, "Where is my cotton?" Well, the Bazangi, she said, "What? How does my hair look?" And the girl said, "Your hair is full of bugs. Now give me my cotton. Your cotton is over there." Well, the girl, she walked over to where the other room was. She walked into that room. You remember what was in that room? Not just the cotton. Treasure. Jewels. Oh, do you think she went over? She took her cotton. Everybody take the cotton. You know what she did? She grabbed a handful of treasure, too. Oh, was that nice to the Bazangi? No. Would you want somebody stealing your treasure out of your treasure chest? No, me neither. Well, she pocketed that treasure. She got her cotton. She didn't even think about cleaning the floor. She just went right over to where that ladder was, and she started to climb back up that ladder. And the Bazangi, she took hold of the bottom of that ladder. Everybody ready? And she shook it. Shake, 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 shake. And some of that treasure came falling out of that daughter's pockets. Those jewels came tumbling down to the ground, and the Bazangi, "Oh, I put a curse on you." And when she cursed the girl, a donkey's ear grew out of that girl's forehead. Yee-haw! Well, the girl felt it, but she kept on climbing. And as soon as she was about to get up to the top, the Bazangi, she took that ladder again. Everybody take the ladder. And she shook it, and all the rest of the treasure fell out of the girl's pockets. Well, "I curse you again." And a snake grew out of the girl's chin. Well, she climbed out, and as soon as she popped her head out, the cow saw the girl's face. You know what the cow said? Well, the girl, with the donkey's ear and the snake, she went walking back home. And the Ahun saw her and saw her daughter with what coming out of her head? A donkey's ear, and then what coming out of her chin? This. Oh, she took her. She tried to cut those awful things off. She tried to cut off that donkey's ear. She cut off the snake. She put salt on the wounds to try and keep them from growing back again. But they grew right back into place. Well, the next day, the Ahund, who was so upset at this girl who had tricked her, and at the cow who was clearly helping her, but who had somehow gotten her daughter to have marks on her face, well, the next day, that Ahund decided she would get even, and she pretended to be very ill. And she told her husband that the only thing that will help me is if you give me the meat from that cow and feed it to me. The yellow cow that had been helping the daughter. Oh, no. And so the daughter, she walked over to the cow and she told the cow, and the cow said, they will kill me. And things will be very hard for you when I am gone. But do not eat the meat and bury my bones. I will always be with you. And so the father, he knew that the only thing that would cure his wife, the Ahund, was the meat from that cow. And so they killed the cow, and they took the meat, and they fed it to the mother. The girl, she didn't eat any of it. And she took the bones, and she buried the bones. Everybody buried the bones. They buried the bones. And that very afternoon, they got an invitation to a special wedding. And they decided to go, everyone except the good daughter. Well, they all got ready, the Ahund, the father, the Ahund's daughter, and they all were about to get in the carriage and ride away when the Ahund came over to the girl who they knew they were just going to leave behind in her rags, and they said, You take this, and you must separate out these two kinds of grain. And she put before her some millet grain and togo grain, and she poured them together and mixed them all up, tiny, tiny grains. She said, you must separate out all of those grains. And you see that basin, and she pointed over to an empty pool. She said, you must fill all of that with your salty tears before we come home. And off they rode to that beautiful wedding. Well, the girl, she was so sad. She was so sad. And she was walking around and wondering what to do. She started to cry, but she knew that the tears that were falling down were not nearly enough to fill up that basin when who came around the corner? A chicken. Why are you crying? The Ahunchi has told me that I must separate out all of these grains of togo from the millet and fill that basin with my tears, but I cannot do it. And the chicken said, do not cry. I will help you. And she brought her little chicks over. Ready? Hold up your hands like they're the chicks. She said, my chicks will separate out the grains, and you take water. You fill it with salt, and that will look and taste like salty tears. You let my chicks do the work. You go off to the wedding. And so the little chicks started to separate out with their beaks the togo from the millet. And the girl, she walked over into the barn, and there in the barn, there was a beautiful dress. There was a horse. She put on the beautiful dress. There was a pair of golden shoes. Everybody take golden shoes. She put on those golden shoes. But the chicken told her, on your way home, you will lose one of your golden shoes. It will fall into a pool of water, and you leave it there, and you see what happens. The girl rode off. She rode off to the ball. They had a wonderful time. She danced with the prince, and she rode back. But as she rode back, one of those golden slippers fell off and landed in a lake. Well, the girl, she just kept on riding. She remembered what the chicken had told her, but ride. And so as she was coming back, she dressed back. The Ahun, she came in, and she saw that the girl was there, and all of the togo and the millet had been separated out, and there was the basin full of what she thought was salty, what? Tears. Yeah. So they thought nothing had happened. And years passed, 2 years passed, and one day that prince, he was out riding, and his horse started to drink from a pool, but it refused to after one little sip, and he wanted to know why the horse had refused to drink from that pool, and he looked closer, and what do you think he found in that pool?
Slipper.
The golden shoe, yes. Oh, and he thought he must know who would fit that shoe, and so he went around to every house, seeing who would fit that shoe. And he tried this foot, nah. He tried this foot, nah. He tried that foot, nah. He tried that foot, nah. And on he went until he came to the Ahun's house. Well, the Ahun saw him coming. She took her daughter. She cut off the donkey's ear, and she cut off the snake, covered them over with the veils, and brought her own daughter out. But did the shoe fit her own daughter? No. And the prince, he was about to leave when all of a sudden he heard a crow crowing and circling around the oven in that house. Well, the Ahund and the daughter, they chased that crow away, but not before the prince got curious. And he opened up that oven, and who was inside but the girl they had hidden away, the girl with the beautiful moon on her brow. And that shoe, that golden shoe, it fit the girl. And at that point, he saw her beautiful moon brow, which is what the story is named for, Ma Pishani, moon brow, and the blessing on her chin, which was what? The star. The star. And Moonbrow and the prince were married. The end. The cow's death is so sad, isn't it? Folklorists translate this story as the mother, the girl's biological mother, coming back to help her again and again. Mama Pishani's gifts of the beautiful moon and the star on her face, the star and the crescent, they're symbolic icons that go back to ancient cultures. Folklorists say long ago, this story of a girl being blessed by the moon and the star was part of a rite, a ritual performed by women. A meal was brought to a mosque, and two women, they sit side by side there, a widow who holds a bowl of ash, and a young girl who sits with an empty bowl. And as the widow recites the story of Ma Pishani, she spoons the ash soup into the girl's empty bowl. And with every spoonful of ash the girl receives, she says yes, as a way of affirming and accepting the message of the story, which is, of course, to be honest and obedient and good. And it's interesting, isn't it, that this Cinderella story involves a ritual with a girl receiving ashes. And this version of Cinderella and the cultural ritual that surrounds it is about finding solidarity and connection with family and with community, and in particular among women in a family and in a community, and about a love that stretches beyond the grave. Now, perhaps you've had someone who's guided you, someone whose words and memory come back to you when you need them most. Maybe the message for all of us in this story is that we should pay attention as we're walking through life. That cow or that chicken that we pass, well, it might just be someone we love, trying to give us a little bit of help along the road.